All right. Yeah, we had a lot of requests for people that could sign up and then get the recording. So, yeah, welcome everybody. My name is Ryan Thomas. I am one of the founders and owners here at RedShift Recruiting. We started the company 10 years ago. In fact, Dan, we just had our 10-year anniversary back in September, right?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, unfortunately.
Am I? Okay. Is that better?
You're good on my side, Ryan.
Can you hear me okay?
Everything's fine from this.
Everything's
Okay,
fine here too.
All
Yep,
right.
same here.
good.
Well, you haven't listened to everything I've said for the 10 years, so this is absolutely appropriate. No, I'm kidding. So, yeah, the 10-year anniversary, why are we having this event? I've been blessed to have Dan's input and guidance from a tech perspective over the last 10 years. The company focused on tech recruiting and staffing for most of the 10 years. We are diversified now as we've hired people. So, we do more than that, but tech remains our focus. And, for somebody that's not technical, what does AI mean is just a constant conversation in my house. It's a worry for, my friends, my family, what are my kids going to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years? So, Dan and I have a lot of these discussions, and he's put a ton of time into researching AI. And, we kind of thought that this would be very appropriate, whether you're a 1 out of 5 on AI knowledge, or you're a 3 out of 5 on AI knowledge, or you're a 5 out of 5. So, hopefully, whatever level you are, something here will resonate. So we have a bunch of questions. Feel free to throw questions into, the chat, and we'll get to as many as we can. If we can't, we can connect after the event. Obviously, there's a recording going on as well. But yeah, really excited for this. Again, 10 years of being able to yell at Dan when my computer doesn't work or when I have a question about something. He's one of the smartest, most knowledgeable people from a tech perspective that I know. And now having been in staffing and recruiting for 10 years, I think he's going to hit some really good topics. So Dan, I think interestingly enough, we have Ed and Ashley on the call right now. I mean, we've been using AI for 4 years, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Ed and Ashley both. Ed's been into it as much as, if not more than I have for the past 4 years. And yeah, so a lot of what we do, if any of you out there see the articles that we put out each week, they're really good. We use a lot of AI tools to generate those. So Ed and Ashley are paramount in all that, and our web presence and our SEO and everything else we do. So yeah, the two of them have a lot to do with why we're able to have this conversation today. So yeah, thank you for both of those guys.
Perfect. Yeah, they are awesome, and we would not be where we're at without them. I hope during the next hour you're going to answer a question for me, Dan. Is AI going to eliminate beer in sports?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think
Then
you're
as
safe.
long
I think that's what you're going to be doing when when all this happens. Yeah,
when it's all done.
beer and
Okay. Well,
sports. Yeah, when it's all done.
that is good to know. My family would be very happy about that. But yeah, Dan, why don't you just jump into some of what you've been doing, as far as your research and what makes you, I know we talked a lot about whether you're a subject matter and how you want to kind of, handle that question, but you've done a lot to kind of make yourself well known in this area.
Yeah, I think for me, what it comes down to and why I'm interested in this and why I felt like I had maybe something valuable to say here today is that, I've been paying attention to this for a long time. One of the real drivers for this talk was number one, I went to the NVIDIA GTC conference down in Washington, D.C. About a month ago, and that was fantastic. Learned a lot. But our customers have started asking us what we think about hiring next year and how it's going to change. So I just think it was timely. I've been studying it, a lot of different areas, and my intent for today is not to tell everyone what's going to happen, because I think if anyone tells you they know what's going to happen with this, they're misinformed. But I'm hoping that we can give enough information about what actually has happened so far, what's going on, and give enough knowledge to everyone so that you can start understanding this stuff and making your own decisions about how this might impact your business going forward next year, and not just hiring, but everything else involved with AI.
No, I mean, you have
So that,
an ability to, relay all of this in a way that people understand it. You did have me going home one day saying, "Is the world going to end?" So I feel, better about that from conversation since then. So
yeah,
that's
good.
good to know. So, but yeah, let's jump right into it. Dan, we hear a lot about, crazy investments, trillions in AI recently. What is this all about, and why is investing in it, and who is investing in it?
Yeah, thanks. Great. Yeah, one of the things that I do all day long is have Bloomberg television on in my office. So, if any of you pay attention to any of this and the investment that's going on, in my view, what this is all about right now is the tremendous amount of compute power that's required to run all these AI applications that all these companies are expecting to provide the revenue to offset the investment that they're making. And that's really what this is about right now. It's a land grab for compute power. And these in essence are the GPUs, the main processors that are used in AI processing. I'm sure you've all heard of NVIDIA. It's the biggest company that's ever existed. They're a $5 trillion market cap company right now, and they're the primary designer of the GPUs that everyone's using to do this. So it's a land grab for this processing power, and these hyperscale data centers that are starting to be built all over is one of the primary drivers for a lot of this investment. And to give everyone an idea of the scale of these things, the biggest one in the world right now is in Mongolia. It is 10.7 million square feet. So to give you an idea of what that is, Crossgates Mall sits on about 1 million square feet. So does the new Amazon distribution center that's right across the street from our office here in Skodak. So take the top floor of Crossgates off and set it next to the main building. Now you've got about 1.7 million square feet. It's 7 times that. So these are massive facilities. Now that's the biggest one in the world. The average are about 1 million square feet. So just to give an idea of the scale of these things, Amazon has 900 of these facilities across the world right now, and that's just Amazon. So
Wow.
and the investment in this is going crazy. These data centers create a lot of jobs. They take a lot to build, as you can imagine. Once they're up and running, there was a story on the Today Show just this morning about one in Virginia, a group of them actually in Virginia. Once they're up and running, there's minimal staff there, but building them takes a lot of skilled contractors in pretty much every area you could imagine. And this is all required to meet kind of the lofty goals that we all have for AI and what it can do for all of our companies and all of us individually. The other big thing you're seeing in this investment arena right now is the generation of electricity to run all these. They require unbelievable amounts of electricity to run. Not only just to run the processors, but to cool the processors as well. There's actually a little more electricity used in cooling than there is running the processors. So we need lots of power generation, lots of electricity. As an example, one of these average 1 million square feet data centers requires about 1 gigawatt of power per data center. 1 gigawatt is what a standard nuclear power facility produces. So that's one nuclear power facility per data center. Um, you know, just massive numbers all around that we're talking about this. And actually, one of the big topics down at that GTC conference, NVIDIA's conference, was that one of the biggest risks to AI being everything that everyone is expecting it to be is electricity production. So that's a huge risk. Huge risk. The other thing that's going on, in addition to building data centers, powering data centers, and building processors, is all the cloud platforms that expose all of this data processing power to all of us that want to use it. So they're the cloud providers, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But that's Amazon Web Services and Azure, and Oracle has one, and Alibaba. So there's a lot of cloud providers out there that I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. So interestingly, if you follow the money with all of this, it's really the Mag Seven companies, the big seven, NVIDIA, Google, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla. These guys are really the ones spending all the money. And the interesting thing is they're right now kind of spending it all on each other. You hear all the time that NVIDIA invested, $100 billion in a company, and that company is spending 90 of it back on NVIDIA's chips. So there's these circular investments. And when you hear AI bubble and is it a bubble and all the rest, that's some of what is causing some of this concern, is that it's really these seven companies buying from each other right now. They're profitable companies, so it's not like the dot com boom and collapse, because those companies, generally speaking, weren't profitable. These are all massively profitable companies, so hopefully we're not in that situation again. But if you look at NVIDIA, so I'll just run through these real quick. NVIDIA is the company that designs these big GPUs. Funny enough, they don't actually manufacture them. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, they actually make the chips. So NVIDIA is a huge player in all this. Alphabet and Google, they are a major player as well. They just announced that they're designing their own GPUs, so that's one company that probably won't need to buy from NVIDIA. But TSM is also making their chips for them as well, and so is Broadcom. Google's also a cloud provider with GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and they have the Gemini 3 large language model built into Google that many of you have probably used. Major player. Amazon is certainly in the mix. They're a cloud provider as well. They're doing stuff with AI for Alexa. They're really into robotics as well. And Jeff Bezos talks about space-based data centers. He owns Blue Origin, which is a rocket company, and they bring mass to low Earth orbit. So that's a possibility for Amazon. Apple's in there. They're doing a lot with OpenAI and Google for AI models for iOS and Siri. Meta, one of the big topics today is the fact that this stuff is changing so fast that it's hard to predict what's happening. I had to change this presentation a little bit just about 15 minutes ago, because Meta just announced that they're cutting metaverse funding, they're redirecting into AI, and they announced this morning that they're no longer going to be making open source AI. They want to charge for it. So they've got a new product called Avocado. It's no longer Llama, and they are going to also start charging for AI processing like ChatGPT does. Microsoft's
Eat that avocado, can you, Dan?
You can't what with an avocado?
And eat the avocado. This
You can't eat
particular
those
one.
avocados.
No.
So. Microsoft, as a data provider with Azure, or as a cloud provider with Azure, and Tesla, interestingly enough, is a major player in this as well. All these AI models that I'll talk about later. Tesla's really advanced in self-driving and robotaxi. They have their Optimus humanoid robot that's making the news a lot now, and Elon's also talking about space-based data centers, and he owns SpaceX, so also has the ability, actually more of an ability than Amazon does, to actually deliver all this mass to low Earth orbit and make these things. OpenAI, Palantir, Anthropic, these companies are all involved. They're not public companies. They're massive private companies, but they're in this mix of investing and buying from each other as well. Most of these companies will tell you that they have orders out through the end of 2027 to kind of eliminate any concerns about whether or not this market is going to continue. NVIDIA says they have to work until the end of 2027 to manufacture the chips that they already have on order. So that's a good thing. So yeah, hopefully that, if you follow the money, if you're that type of person, this is a good indicator of where people think investment should be going, where we think we're heading to, and that's a good thing to watch. If you don't watch Bloomberg TV, and if you care about any of this at all, it's a good way to stay up on this stuff.
Is Mag 7 like a coin term? Is that like that in this world they're called the Mag 7?
Just in the world in general, yeah, the Magnificent Seven. It's
Okay.
basically the seven biggest companies in the world.
Okay. Okay, great. So, I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I use AI, Chat GPT, everybody says they use it, I think even, my parents have said, oh yeah, Chat GPT, but, in talking to you, there's a lot more than ChatGPT, correct?
Yeah. I think most of the world was exposed to AI from these frontier language models. OpenAI's got ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and I think most of the world, and that's what they think of as AI, and that's what they use. Yeah, let me talk a little bit about what else it is, but there's a lot of, just to do some definitions, there's a lot of, I've noticed a lot of G's in the world of AI, a lot of G words. So let me go through some of those because I think sometimes they get confused. Um, Chat GPT, the G in that stands for generative. So it's generative pre-trained transformer. That's what GPT stands for. Generative AI means it creates new original content, text, images, music, video, code, and the large language model is the center of that, and that's a language center. I'll talk about that. The other G is AGI, and that G is general, so artificial general intelligence. This is the big one that I think most people get scared of. This is the thing that maybe is going to be the Skynet moment someday. This is the idea of a general superintelligence. So an AI that is smarter than every human that's ever existed on every topic that's ever existed. So a lot of companies are working on that. Depending on who you talk to, you'll hear things like there's somewhere between a 5 and 50% chance that in the next 5 to 20 years this will be real. So will it come someday? Maybe. It certainly seems like there's a chance. Is it tomorrow? Don't know. But watch out for that. That's what the general in AGI stands for. There's also agentic. There's a G in there too, and that is the idea of autonomous. So that's a system that can sense, plan, decide, and then act. Self-driving cars are a really good example. That's a system that can do all of those things and do it pretty well. It's one of the reasons why Tesla is so far advanced with these other models is because they have all of us that drive Teslas. They've had billions of hours of real life, training going on with their systems. So they're a bit ahead in the training of these other models. So there's some G words there for you, but LLMs, ChatGPT, Gemini, and they're just language models. So if you think of a human or a car or physics or the planet or the universe, there's lots of other things other than language. So, we're working on vision models for sight. We're working on vision language and action models to do those exact things. Behavior models, large behavior models. This is what robotics primarily use, how we behave. Think about a human. We've got language, but we've also got sight. We've got movement. We've got all of our muscles. We interact with biology and chemistry and physics. So you're seeing all these models being developed. And the challenge with these models is training them. Large language models had the benefit of all of the documents and all of the stuff that we've all been posting on the internet for the past X number of years. So there was a lot of information, a lot of data for the language models to learn from. We don't really have that for all these other models that we're talking about. As I said, Tesla's got a lot of that for self-driving, but LLMs are far ahead on training because of that. The other stuff is coming along. You may have seen videos of Optimus robots or Figure robots folding laundry and handing out popcorn and these kinds of things. So training those models is something that we still have a lot of work to do on. Physical training for these models is a challenge. It's done through teleoperation of robotics. It's done through video recording and all that. NVIDIA has a lot of products. Digital twinning is a popular term right now. It's the idea of creating an environment that a system needs to work in the omniverse, which is NVIDIA's kind of version of the metaverse, where we can employ physics models and biology models and other models and actually train things in there. And then think of training a robot to fold laundry in the omniverse. We can multiply that times 1,000 and then speed it up. So we're giving these models hundreds of thousands and millions and billions of hours of training in a very shortened period. So that's a big area and a hopeful area in that. Um, Automation, robotic automation, and AI systems integration and automation is already big in manufacturing and third-party logistics. A lot of people say that we're going to give the dull, dirty, and dangerous jobs over to these, AI and robotic systems. And you've probably seen in the news that some of these companies are deploying humanoids in our homes to clean and cook and mow the lawn and shovel the driveway and all these kinds of things. I think we're a little bit away from seeing humanoids in Ryan's house anytime soon, but we're getting there. So there are all. I think if you just think of that, what you've seen so far with ChatGPT and these language models, that's really just the language center of a much broader, group of things that we need to train models on. That will give you a little insight into the fact that the other side of AI, the other stuff that's coming, is considerably larger than just the language portion of things.
So, Dan, when do you think your wife, Erin, will have a robot to fold the laundry?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
I don't even care if it works all that well. As soon as possible. But yeah, I have no idea. Figure AI has their Figure 3 robot. It just got back from a deployment at BMW. They were there for 10 months. These robots, these humanoid robots, were taking sheet metal off of a rack, putting it in a sheet metal stamping machine that stamps fenders and other sheet metal parts of a car, and then sticking them on pallets. They had, I think, 10 of those working for 15-hour days for 10 months, and they did well. Learned a lot about the process. They were pretty beat up when they were done, cut up and damaged and this and that. But they did the work, and they were useful. So I think in some areas of certain industries, it's going to be pretty soon. But they're still trained on very point models of doing one particular job. They're not. It's not a general intelligence. It's a training on how to take sheet metal off of this rack and put it on this rack, and maybe deal with some things that might happen unexpectedly, some edge cases in the middle of that. But it's coming.
Good, good. Well, we're in the business of helping candidates find jobs. We're in the business of helping, companies throughout the capital region and nationally find talent. We've seen a big uptick in our business over the last month. Even today we're seeing, articles come out about, scammers that are running ads and trying to, get money that way. So, there's a lot of fake people and advertisement out there. But, specifically, we have a lot of, HR people on this call, a lot of small business owners. How do you see AI impacting hiring in 2026?
Yeah. Good question. If I could, again, to avoid any kind of useless prediction about every industry, one that I would like to talk about, because I think we all do a little bit of this in our business, is software development, and how that's going to be affected. The reason I wanted to talk about that one is because that's already being affected, and we're seeing very clearly and very quickly what's coming there. I want to share a slide here if I could. So this slide, can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I've got okay. So this slide, it was a cooler one, but it had the same content on it, was presented by Jensen Wang down at the GTC show. He is suggesting that this is the basis of the new industrial revolution. Is that still, slide still up, that same slide?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I changed some things here. I want to make sure I didn't screw it up. So if you look at that, the bottom blocks there are kind of what I talked about in the investment area. That's data centers, that's GPUs, that's energy. The infrastructure is all that, plus the cloud platforms that are delivering all this compute to us. The real difference here, and it's a big enough difference that he's literally calling it an industrial revolution, are the top two boxes there. the models, and then the applications. So what he's talking about with the models is that rather than having developers that, as traditionally they would have to write in code every single thing that's going to happen in an application and prepare for every use case and edge case and everything that goes on. Traditionally, that's what every system, that's how it was made. A developer figured out every little thing, and everything had to be written in. The difference now is that with these models, they can write the code for us. So, you've heard of probably vibe coding, and this. If you've ever seen a developer use like Claude, Anthropic's tool, or any of these AI development tools, they're not really developing anymore. They're not writing code anymore. They're telling the AI, hey, give me a block of code that if I enter in two numbers, it will add them for me and give me back the result, and much more complicated things than that. So the way that developers are coding has already changed drastically. One of my good friends, who's one of the best developers I know, said to me the other day that he hasn't really written any code in about 10 months. And he's producing about 10 times the amount of output that he did last year. So that's the kind of scale that we're talking about here. And that's kind of what vibe coding is. But the idea that now, on top of all this infrastructure, sits a model where we can ask the model to do the work for us. And that's a step change in the world for us, because this is a scenario where, unlike past industrial revolutions where we were given tools that we use to do our jobs more efficiently, think of an assembly line. Humans are using the assembly line to make more cars and make them faster. So what those industrial revolutions did for us was allow the same amount of people to do much more work. This is similar in that aspect, but the difference is that these models aren't the tools. They're the workers. They're the things doing the work. So that is a step change. They're not the pianos. They're the pianists. They're the things doing the work. So now we can ask these things to do work for us. They will generate that. And right now, what most developers are doing is they're reviewing what these AI tools like Claude are outputting and checking it and make sure it's okay. But they're using Claude very often to check the software to make sure it's okay. So this is all advancing. When I think of this, there's some facts out right there. 30% of software development already is being done by these AI tools, and that's increasing drastically. By the end of the next year, it's probably going to be nearly 100%. So if you think that through and what that means, where my head goes with this is that the people going forward that are going to be heading our development efforts may not be traditional developers, because what this does is this opens up an opportunity for forward-facing, client-facing people, God help us, maybe even salespeople, being able to design and build these systems. Maybe the software developers of the future are going to be English majors and communications people that are good at talking, understanding client needs, and expressing to these models, how to get what they want out of it. So think through that. It could really change things. It will change things, but it might give us a much deeper connection to our clients, and have people who are, I know a lot of software developers. I used to be one, not always the most outgoing, communicative people. And one of the challenges that we've all had, any of us that have owned software companies, is that translation between the business need and the developers and actually building the thing that the client needs and wants. Perhaps this is going to lend a lot of advancement there, but it's certainly going to change what a traditional developer is. We're already seeing the need for junior developers kind of really going away, and I think that's going to extend right up the model. But hopefully, with everything that I've said here today, you guys can all kind of consider this all in your businesses and what it means for you, and maybe translate that to other areas, because this model here that is up on the screen, this is going to apply to a lot of different things, not just software development jobs, but a lot of different jobs. In fact, last month, obviously we're recruiters. I saw our first listing for a forward-facing developer, and when you look at the description, that's what it was. It wasn't a ton of development. It was someone that could interact with their clients and then speak to these models to get out of them what they need. So pretty interesting stuff. And I think, one of the things I'd like to do out of this talk today is that if anyone has other topics they'd like to talk about, I mean, I can't talk about everything today in 45 minutes here, but I've got thoughts and ideas on other industries, especially manufacturing and third-party logistics, a little bit of healthcare too. But these are all deeper conversations, so please reach out. I'm happy to talk with anybody and share what I know. But I think the software development is one where we're not really guessing anymore what's going to happen. It's starting to happen, and if you just take it out to its logical endpoint, I think they're the kind of things we're going to see.
Great. Yeah, it'd be interesting to, down the road or on another one of these here, other professions besides software development, and some of the risks there. I mean, I think what I think about in my household and for my children is what does our business look like, staffing and recruiting, what are the jobs going to be in 10, 20, 30 years, are we going to be able to retire, things like that. So I mean, what are you, Dan, what type of risks are you seeing out there right now?
Yeah, that's another good topic, because I think we're seeing some of the risks actually. It's happening right now. It's in many instances, and it's pretty bad. I think there's short-term risks and there's long-term risks. I think short-term and the stuff that we're starting to see. I think wealth gap increases is one of the risks. People that own businesses and can take advantage of the profits that may come from automation, both AI systems automation and physical AI automation through robotics and the rest. It has a significant risk to make the business owners a lot more money at the cost of the blue collar workers that were doing that work in the past. I am hopeful that business owners that have this ability to increase profits significantly through this work will find ways to share that with employees, workforce development, upskilling, training, moving people around, work-life balance, things. I have a lot of ideas around this stuff, so I'm hoping that business owners will take that approach. But that's wealth gap increases as a risk. We're already seeing fake videos, really, really good ones that most people are struggling to tell the difference between reality. And, there's political influence there. There's cultural issues with that. We're already seeing that. So that's happening. Cyber attacks are becoming more efficient, stronger. They're using AI. They're attacking, getting in, doing their damage, and getting out, so quickly that sometimes the companies don't even know that it's happened for a while. A big one too for me is discrimination and bias. We're training these models. Think of this: these large language models have been trained by all the crap that we've all put on the internet for the past 20 years. That's not all good stuff. It's a representation of humans in general. There's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of bad. So built into these models is discrimination and bias. It's learning from us. And then, one of the long-term risks, I think, is the fact that people are starting to let AI speak for them. So if we're teaching AI bad things, and then we're letting AI speak for us in the way that we communicate, the way, if you're using AI to help you write emails and help you respond to a complex situation, that thing was trained, by all of us. So it's this circular kind of a feedback loop, this positive feedback loop, that I think that's one of the bigger long-term risks is, not so much a Skynet moment where robots are going to be, walking around and killing us all, But this idea that if we allow AI to think for us rather than work for us, and it is infiltrated in every aspect of our lives, and we're using it for everything, it has the ability to just kind of take over our minds and our culture in this kind of quiet, beneath the radar way that day to day you might not even realize is happening, but it is. It's already happening. So, long term, everyone when they talk about big long term risks talks about 80% unemployment rates, Skynet moments taking over the world and killing us all. And I don't know. Maybe that's possible. I think it's certainly possible. I don't know how realistic it is. I'm hoping we're all smart enough to control these things. But that other one that I just mentioned, where it kind of quietly infiltrates the way we do everything that we do, I think that's a more probable and more realistic long-term risk that we can all work to avoid by, again, let AI work for you. Don't let it think for you.
Great, great. Yeah, so much there and so interesting. I mean, again, these are things that Dan and I talk about, every day, every week, and the opportunity for others to hear it and understand it is, and like you've said, it's changing by the second, by the minute. Love to open it up now to some questions. If anybody has a couple of questions for Dan that they think other people are thinking, you can either unmute and yell them out or put them in the chat. Anybody have a question?
Hi, Ryan. Vijaya here.
Hi.
Hi, Vijaya.
Hi. Not more of a question, but just would like to share my experience of using um, uh, AI, or I should say ChatGPT, for coding. So I was a QA engineer at MVP, right? And I was a big proponent of automation. And it was definitely difficult to, I mean, there is a longer road to teach automation to manual testers. But ChatGPT definitely has changed that, where you tell it what you are trying to achieve, be specific in the goal, and it will give you that format. So rather than having to spend days or weeks on training, if the individual knows the basics foundation, I think they will be able to learn automation within a day or two.
Yeah.
And they should be able to write the automation scripts. So for me, writing an automation for a new project at MVP, something that would have taken a month, I was able to achieve it in a week.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, perfect example. And I'm not a developer anymore, but I hang out with them, and I've seen them using and doing exactly what you just said, and it's impressive. It's incredible. It's going to allow us to produce a lot more code, and we'll see if the world starts producing 10, 20 times the amount of code that we used to, because that is a big problem with most companies, is a backlog of all the software development that they'd like to do. So, I'm hopeful that that's what it's going to do. It's going to allow us to be 10 times more productive, and all the software developers are going to have different jobs, but, they'll still be doing, ultimately, producing the same kind of work. They'll just be doing it differently. Yeah, thanks.
Right.
Thanks for
Yes,
that.
and yeah, that doesn't mean that an individual should not know programming, but they should still know, because you cannot rely completely on AI. It is only going to give you a head start and a format or a skeleton of what it should look like. It's not going to be 100% perfect code that it's going to give you, where you just copy paste into your application and it runs. That is not what it is.
Right. Not yet.
Yes, not yet.
That's awesome. And what, in theory, what does this increased production of code, like, does it just mean like more products out there, Dan, or what would it, more
It
companies?
could be, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, probably every single one of you on this call today that runs a company or runs a department or whatever, you probably got a lot of software development projects that you'd love to do, but you're not doing them because you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the money, whatever the case may be. So that should all become easier. I think the bandwidth and the money probably won't be much of an issue pretty soon, because developing new software is going to be cheap and fast.
Hey,
See a
Dan,
couple. Yeah,
I just want to jump in. We got a hand raised. Just next question from Shelda. I just wanted to give her the opportunity to ask if you're done answering the last one.
Sure. Go ahead, Shelda.
Yeah, thank you so much for this conversation. I definitely want to ask a question more the about where AI is changing and how we work and create a new working model, such as can you speak about like how workers like myself who's looking for a job, how are we going to prepare, for this change? Example, is there going to be more fractional work going on in this new gig economy?
Mm. Yeah, how do you prepare? Yeah, that's a good question. I wish I had that answer for everyone. I think knowing as much as you can, learning as much as you can about AI is a good start. And depending on what industry you're in and what you're doing, I think it's a challenge. I listen to people that think about this aspect of AI all the time, and there's concern. I have concerns for Ryan mentioned his kids at the beginning of this thing.
Yeah.
If you've got kids that went to school for computer science and they're hoping to come out now and get a nice, good junior programmer job and learn from some of us older folks that have been doing this for a while and sit in a nice office with a bunch of developers and grow, that has changed. That's not going to be the way that it is.
Right.
Where I think there's a lot of thought that needs to go through is what about software development is just one thing. What about healthcare, and what about third party logistics, and what about accounting and finance, and what about engineering and manufacturing and all these other things? And I think they're individual use cases. So yeah, I don't know. I focused on the software development talk today because I know a bit about that, and that's starting to show signs of how things are going to go. And those of you in other industries that are focusing on things that I don't and thinking about things that I'm not, maybe you guys could jump in. I'm sure you have thoughts, but I don't know. What I tell everybody right now that asks me that question is pay as much attention to AI as you can right now, learn everything you can, and try to head it off. Because the change is certainly coming. I think your question about fractional work, I think the way people are making money is changing for sure today. There's a lot of, especially younger people, are wanting to do things a little differently, not necessarily wanting to work 60 hours a week, like I did 30 years ago, starting up at MapInfo.
Right.
So kids these days they have different ideas of things that they're changing, and so yeah, there's different ways of making money today. And I wish I had some brilliant answer for you right there, but
Hey, Dan, I'm
I
gonna
don't.
jump in so we can keep moving to next questions. I'd like to offer one piece of advice to Shelda as well. One of the things that I've found, because people ask me, I do a lot of AI work here at RedShift, is how do I learn AI? And they're looking for an expert to go to. But the problem is the world is progressing so quickly that to
Yeah.
claim you're an expert on AI is almost laughable because it just changed why we talked. So
Yes.
the place that I would look, and this is something I don't think people think about, these large language models, it doesn't matter which one you're using right now. If you're just acquainting yourself with ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or any of these, ask the model. Like, it is your soundboard. The model understands itself. It understands how to utilize itself. It understands how to teach you. A lot of people are not realizing that the best prompt engineer, the best teacher is the model itself. So if you went to ChatGPT and said, I don't know anything and I want to learn how to use you, and this is the industry I'm in, and this is, these are my abilities and skills, like, how's the best way? And you can get real granular and crazy. You could even offer it up your learning type and say, hey, I'm a more kinetic learner. I need to learn how I need to physically do it to learn it. So whatever point you are at, don't feel like you can't get ahead. Don't feel like you can't learn. Ask the model to help you and guide you, because that's actually the expert. The model itself is the expert. Anybody who's trying to tell you that it's not an expert is just trying to make money from you, to be perfectly honest. They're going to say, take my course, read my book, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. But ultimately, It's a mirror. It's a projection board to utilize. So there's more questions coming in. I don't want to take up more time. The next question was from Susan Corney.
Good morning.
Hi,
Hey,
Sue.
Sue. How are
How
you?
are you guys?
Good.
As you know, I'm in healthcare. And one of the things, I love technology and I love advancements. So as we're headed towards 2030, we know the oldest population is going to outnumber the youngest for the first time in history. So it's a chance to kind of augment that. And they already have in nursing homes, they have robots that can sit with people when they're sundowning. They have robots that can do some of the basic busing in a dining room in a nursing home. So they're already using it. So I see there's some really positive things that come. Certainly,
Right.
there's nefarious reasons people are going to use this. But I wondered what your thoughts were, Dan, on just that, like knowing that we're not going to have enough employees in theory
Mhm.
going into 2030. Will this augment that? So maybe that won't be as big an issue?
I think so. If you look at the top three industries where, let's talk about one of my favorite topics, humanoid robots for a second. If you
He's
look
not
at
kidding.
the top three industries where we think those will first be deployed, it's manufacturing, third-party logistics, and healthcare. And healthcare sounds like a weird one. It's going to be a long time before we're going to trust a humanoid robot with our babies or with our parents or grandparents that are in a nursing home or whatever the case may be. But I think staff shortage, look at a nursing home. They're tough jobs and there's a real shortage. I think there is absolutely a place for robotics. As you mentioned, it's already starting to happen. But yes, I'm hopeful that what we're going to do with them first, you hear the dull, dirty, dangerous job thing all the time. There is such a shortage of workers in those jobs right now because frankly, they're jobs that not a lot of people want to do. So it makes sense that there's a shortage there. I think there's going to be a big infiltration in those areas and in nursing homes and hospitals and the rest. I think it starts with janitorial. There's a couple of big companies that are already supplying food delivery bots, as you just mentioned. Companion robots. But yes, cleaning, maintenance, those kinds of things for sure. And I think as it advances, then perhaps they can get into some care type environments. But the liability chain of these things is going to be a big conversation really soon. What happens when the robot freaks out and hurts somebody? So that's going to be an issue. But I think as people get more used to these things and as they get into these environments, we'll get more and more comfortable with them. And then yes, I think you're going to see a lot of it in those three areas. And I think nursing care deployed the way I just said, it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be one of the really good things that comes out of this, as well as manufacturing jobs that are dangerous and people are getting exposed to harmful chemicals and repetitive injuries and all those kinds of things. I mean, they can take over all that stuff for us, and I think do it pretty well. And that's coming. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I think that's a huge area. Nursing care specifically, and also those similar jobs in a hospital setting are fantastic. Yes. So yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the big markets that we're probably going to see this stuff deployed in first.
Next question, Dan. I'm just following up in chat to Shelda. I gave out your LinkedIn profiles. Anybody wants to connect with Dan and Ryan, go ahead and add them on LinkedIn or reach out on LinkedIn for more. Of course, that's allowed. Your next question is from John N.
Yeah, good morning, guys. So, Dan, thanks for putting this on, and Ryan for reaching out to me. So, I'm just going to share something I came across at another. I forgot, I was reading it, whatnot. But the one thing, AI can certainly do things better, as Dan just said, in jobs that people don't want to do and things we've already developed. But the other thing I learned when this other speaker was talking about is AI cannot replace our ingenuity. So, if we worry about what your kids are going to do, they were really pushing them to say, learn AI, but learn it or teach it to do something that has not been done before. It's moving so fast. There's new technology out there. Don't let your minds go blank just because you think the AI can do something that's already been developed. So it's the ingenuity portion I just wanted to share. It was a really good discussion that, challenge yourselves to not just to make the better mousetrap, but just make something better or something that has not been done before. So it's really just pushing ingenuity for the younger population. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. Ingenuity, perception, these are things that are the real challenges for these AI, the general models. These are things that are inherently human, and we'll see how long it takes for that to come along. But yeah, absolutely. In robotics, the hand is the biggest engineering challenge right now too. If you look at your hand, it can thread a needle, it can change a tire on a diesel truck, it can build nuclear submarines, and it can hold your baby. That is tough to reproduce. So these are some of the big engineering issues that are still going on in humanoid robotics and other robotics, hands and grippers and stuff. But yeah, ingenuity, perception is one I like thinking about too. I think there's a place for quantum computing to help with some of if you consider us reproducing that in a computer helpful. I think that quantum computing is an area where some of those things we might see advancements. Yeah,
Well,
thanks, John.
the takeaway for me too is just, we talk about this is just, yes, chat GPT and AI and it's happening and hiring and all that, but the Mag 7 you mentioned, that it is, the money, the investment, the power that is happening day to day is just, from a dollars and cents standpoint. I mean, it's coming and it's happening at such a rapid rate. We talk about the Industrial Revolution and other things. I mean, that's what's staggering about the investment in this.
Yeah, absolutely. We got any more questions on the board, Ed?
No more questions at the moment. We'll go ahead and give people another minute, though. Winding down, obviously, here. So if anybody has any last-minute questions, please put them in chat. Let Dan and Ryan take care of them. Otherwise, thank you for joining.
Yeah, a couple of quick shout outs. Albany Can Code, we have a great relationship with them. They send us candidates and we speak in their classes. They're local here to Albany, and they have courses in AI. Definitely check them out. For many of you, we'll see at Best Places to Work tomorrow night at the luncheon. Third year in a row we won that, so thank you to our staff. And happy holidays, for sure. Dan, you're not getting that robot this year?
I don't think so.
All right.
I don't think so. No, I'd
Maybe
like
Aaron
to
will surprise you.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think my family's too interested in robots walking around the house yet.
Okay.
So let me pose you guys all with a question that someone posed to me the other day in a similar thing, and then we'll hang up and we'll talk about it next time. When you ask Chad a question and it gives you a really good answer back, and you use that answer, did it understand the answer that it gave you? Think about that. Let that keep you up at night, and let's talk about that next time.
Repeat that, Dan.
When you ask Chat GPT a question and it gives you a really good answer, does it understand the answer that it gave you? All right.
I have no idea.
I don't want to talk about it right now, so don't ask me.
But wait a minute. What is the prompt should I put in to ask ChatGPT that question?
Don't worry about prompting. Yeah. Just literally have a natural conversation with it.
Whatever.
Just say, hey, you know what? I'm trying to learn you, and just make it as natural as you and I is talking right now. Don't even worry about prompt. Yeah, if you get into prompting right now, it's gonna make you nervous and get you all crazy, and you don't really need that. You just need to have a conversation.
Yeah, it's more of a theoretical question, and the answer to that question that you each have, and the differences in those answers will kind of allow you to understand what you think about all this stuff right now. So, yeah, we're going to do another one of these fairly soon, probably specific to one of those three: manufacturing, third-party logistics, and healthcare. So we're gonna do another one of these pretty soon. So attend that one, and we can start it by talking about this, or reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to talk about this anytime.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Drive safe today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.